Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up here on the first Wednesday in July, having us a nice little chat with someone he's in a state of misery. That's why he came back here for a second time. You like that one? I knew you would.
Yeah,
like that. In a state of misery. So he came back here for a second time. He's the host of High Lyfe. He's going to be bringing that back, and currently now he hosts a rock and roll history podcast called What You Don't Know. So that's why we say, do you know rock and roll? So what don't you know, where Steve and his co-host, he said something about he's a fear of coming on and bellying up to the bar with us. So I hope when he sees this, he's like, what the fuck, Steve? But he didn't say that shit. I just made it up. But has a complete fear of coming on the show. But they talk about, rock and roll history. Did you know? Didn't you know? They take the time to scoop it all out so that you don't have to. So joining us all the way out in some part of Missouri, some backwoods swamped area. I don't even know what the fuck is in Missouri. I've been to like 42 states, and that's not one. Actually, no, I did. Hold on. We'll tell that story here in a minute. I forgot I have been through that state. I forgot I did go there one time. That's an entire story. So joining us all the way from Missouri, it's the host of What You Don't Know podcast, Steve Rhodes.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve. I'll have to tell that story here in a minute. We'll tell it in a minute.
All right.
So before we get started and talking with Steve and everything, let's go ahead and get into a couple of different things. As always, folks, we got the big board over my right shoulder for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something that you're supporting, don't care what it is, and you want people to know about it, you can reach us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. Let me know what you got going on. We'll tell everybody about it. Let them know what you got happening. And you send me that sticker and we read about you. It's free advertising, folks. I don't know how much more I can do for you other than give you some free advertising on the show. Other people pay for that stuff. So send me a sticker. Steve, you got to get a sticker so I can put it up there.
I do need to get stickers.
Dude, it's not hard to get stickers.
It's not.
It's really not. Like, that's one of those things. Like, stickers are pretty easy. So we'll take care of that for you. Also, folks, we got to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, and that's Budget Blinds. And that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Cooksaki, and Schoharie. You're North America's largest custom window treatment company. They're taking care of everything from blind, shade, shutters, drapery, tint, you name it. They've got it going on. If you're looking for some custom window treatments, maybe you're looking for something like, I know it's summertime right now and you're thinking, well, I want my windows wide open. I want everybody to see what's going on. Well, if you want to keep that air conditioning inside there, maybe you look at something like a cellular shade. It's got little pleats in it and insulates your windows. They even have manufacturers that you can get 30% of the product cost back, up to $1,200 as an energy efficiency credit. So think about that for a second, folks. As I try not to cough in everyone's ear today. So we got them that's our try that again. So make sure you reach out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Cooksaki, and Schoharie if you're looking for custom window treatments. As always, folks, they have sales going on this month. Again, it's 20% off of your product, 5% off of anything motorized. And whenever you tell them, I don't care what sale they got going on, you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they're giving you another 5% off your entire order. So make sure you reach out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson, Cooksaki, and Schoharie. All right, all that's done. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Stupendous as always. You want to hear my misery story?
I do.
So I drove cross country one time. And while driving cross country, I took, 70 across the top there.
Yep.
So I've never been in a place more desolate. And this was in 2001, and you still could have dropped a nuke in the middle of there and no one would have known that it happened for at least a week. And it was between Denver, Colorado, and then heading towards Kansas City, Missouri. And it was so bad. like the only exciting thing was there was a sign for this place called Prairie Dog Town. And I was like, I'm checking this out. There's gotta be. I was with the girl I was dating at the time. I was like, we're gonna see. We pulled over, it was closed. I was like, this is some bullshit. Even Prairie Dog Town didn't last. So yeah, like that whole like there's just nothing out there, bro. It's so flat. So, but again, folks, Steve and I first met through his first podcast, High Lyfe, which
Yes.
been a little bit on a hiatus, but you said that's going to be coming back, right?
That is going to be coming back. Yeah, I just kind of let it go for a while, but I've got in contact with some people that are really interested in doing it. I do not have a sister named Sheila.
Sheila Rhodes. I don't know. So that's my Aunt Eileen. I don't know.
Gotcha.
That's a good. He's in Missouri, Aunt Eileen, not Montana or Dakota. Do you have anybody in the Dakotas?
Like, not that I'm aware of.
All right.
But yeah, kind of got focused on the rock and roll podcast for a while, but I do have some people that are lined up, and I just need to do the interviews.
Now, High Lyfe was based on what? What was that one all about?
High Lyfe was started with me and my best friend telling stories. If you look it up on Spotify and go back to the first episode, it's just me and him smoking and telling stories. And then it turned into smoking and telling stories with other people. And then it was some friends were like, hey, why don't you try like getting a hold of random TikTokers? And I was like, I don't know.
like I never gave it a thought.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like talking to random people. And they're like, no, try it. All right. So I got a couple people on. There's a guy, Ronan GT. When I first talked to him, he had a few 100,000 followers.
Wow. Okay? That's still pretty good.
He now has 1.2 million. And he's been on my show like 3 times.
Doesn't that make you feel good though when like somebody that you talk to?
Like I told him even when he was on this last episode, I said you're the biggest glow up that I've interviewed.
It's definitely one of those things where you don't think much of it, and then all of a sudden you see somebody and they're like I had the girl, I can't think of her name right now. I had the girl whose video like went crazy where she was holding the tape measure. She's like, this is enough. This is too much.
Oh yeah.
I had her on and like,
okay. And
she completely exploded. I'm like, that's wild. That like, that made you, into what equates to a star. Other people have copied that video plenty of times. What's up, Joey? So it's definitely interesting. So we put that on the hiatus. That one takes a break. Then we get into WYDK, which the Instagram
what you didn't know.
And that'll be the Instagram will be coming up, folks. It'll be the same exact thing, WYDK, for what you didn't know. So how did that one even start?
So I was on my way to Thanksgiving dinner, and growing up, we didn't listen to like my mom's house rule was no Christmas music until Thanksgiving.
Fair enough.
So I was on my way to a Thanksgiving dinner and turned on a rock and roll playlist, the Christmas playlist, and I was just letting it play, listening, and all of a sudden Beach Boys came on, and I was like, I kind of forgot about them being rock and roll.
Really?
Like, to me, like they were pop.
Okay.
And I was like, well, my brain just started wandering. I'm doing 80 down the highway, so that's the perfect time to let your brain wander.
Yeah, that's a good place for it. It's a perfectly good place for that to happen.
But my brain just like, where did rock and roll start? Like, how did it get started? How did it get to where it is now? And so a couple days later, I talked to my buddy Tory. He is in a band. And I was like, hey, it's like, I have this idea and I want to do it with a co-host. I was like, I don't want to do it by myself. I was like, I'm tired of I was like, I need someone to feed off of. I need a conversation, not just me staring at a camera and talking. And he's like, well, I can do edits and I have equipment and I can do this. And I'm like, okay.
Like, did you know that about him at all?
I mean, I knew he had equipment and stuff, but I'm like I didn't think he was going to be like, oh, let's use my recording equipment from the band to record a podcast. I was like, hell, right now I use my laptop and a cheap microphone.
So he jumps on it. And look, folks, if you're just joining us, we got Steve Rhodes, host of What You Didn't Know podcast. If you got questions, maybe you got rock and roll questions or your own rock and roll story. If my Aunt Eileen's still out there, I promise you, she's probably got a rock and roll story that is one of these ones where it's going to be like names have been omitted so that people's reputations will be saved. So he's willing to like, hey, let's use my equipment. We'll get it all going.
Yeah.
And I like that you said you needed a host. How was it going from like I've done some on here where I'm soloing and I hate it. I really hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can make it happen for about 15, 20 minutes. I don't know how people would talk for an hour by themselves. Like that's absolutely like you're a level of psychopath.
I have to have a conversation. I can't just monologue it.
Yeah, bro. Like I don't get that at all. Like I think if you can go out there and just riff by yourself for 1 hour with nobody interacting with you, you're a psychopath.
Yes.
Like there's
absolutely.
something.
Absolutely.
Like,
because I mean, even a stand-up comedian, there's an audience reacting to them.
Yeah. There's a back and forth. Like I think like I would have definitely I'd have made myself a Wilson. Like I have no doubt about that. Like I understood that. Oh yeah, this is all I got. I'm drawing a face on this son bitch. And me and you were talking.
You got to have something to look at and talk to.
Yeah, I need it. So, but what was that feeling like when you realized like, wow, this is what interacting with another human in this is like?
Well, so at first we did a first recording and we still have it. Eventually we're going to do a Patreon and we're going to release some of these early things that never made it to the internet before. Our first episode, we were scatterbrained. We were all over the place. And it was just, all it was us trying to talk about what we were getting started to work on. The whole first episode was more of just pitching the show than it was any actual content. And we were jumping from idea to idea to idea. And it's because we were just so excited about what we were doing. And so he went back to listen to it, to do edits and stuff. And we met up like a week later and he goes, we have to redo that entire episode because that is so scatterbrained. So then we came up with the idea of doing notes and doing research before we crack a mic and say anything. So it's not scripted, but it's noted.
Okay. I get that. Like, here's our key points. Here's the things we want to stay on topic with. I get that.
We have run into some trouble lately, though. I do need to make an announcement about that. So our Beatles episodes that are going to come out soon, they are going to have, we do music samples in our show.
Oh, okay.
And we've been sitting just under the radar for 12 episodes. And finally we released an episode about the Beatles and we got flagged.
Yeah, Beatles are a tough one, man. And
so we might be resubmitting them the same way, just through a different platform where we're using podcasts or Spotify for podcasters.
Okay.
We're now going to be using Podbean.
I use Podbean.
Okay. We're going to be using Podbean to publish, and hopefully we stay out of trouble on that one. But after the Beatles, right now we're doing our research on the Rolling Stones. Starting with that episode, we're not going to be using music samples anymore.
Just too risky. To get into it.
Yeah. we almost lost the whole show. Like Spotify
Oh,
had emailed us. I didn't know he had a whole separate email address set up for the show.
oh wow.
I thought like I didn't know what email address he used. And so when he was like, "Oh yeah, one of us needs to have this on our device so that we can check this," and I'm like, "I didn't know it existed."
I didn't know this was even a real thing.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh no," but yeah, Spotify had emailed us and was like, "You can, you can challenge this decision, but we missed the time period because nobody was checking the emails."
Gotcha. Well,
So
Joe over on Instagram says when we were talking about being able to talk by ourselves, he said, I can wing 3 hours, single child syndrome. And then the chains came off. Joe, I'm gonna tell you, man, 3 hours just chatting to myself. That's not single child, brother. That's like a whole nother thing. Just played the chord slightly. Well, see, there you go. Just play the chord slightly wrong. There's gotta be like, can you get what's his name? Who's that producer? Uh it's a remix. Oh, what the hell's his name?
I have no
Um
clue.
I can't think of his name right now, but you should get like something like that and just drop it over top of it and, and be like, so it's like, or that sound where it's like, wah, 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 like play the music and then just throw that into it. And then you're like,
So
no, it's a whole different song.
so we talked about trying to mess with the sounds a bit, but there's not a whole lot we can do because like that's what we're trying to get people to focus on is the music of that artist and the similarities between it and the previous artist that we were talking about.
Mm.
So here is what I tell people all the time. I'm going to connect Slipknot to Elvis Presley.
Okay, I like that. That's interesting. Like,
Now, Slipknot's not going to be the end of it, and Elvis Presley was not the beginning of it.
right.
But I'm going to connect Slipknot to Elvis Presley.
That's an interesting journey right there. How you get from one to the other.
So we've talked about like, what about whenever what about when the genre starts to split and you have the subgenres? I'm like, then we go off on a tangent of the subgenres. Like, we're going to talk about everything that's influenced the next person. Because we just did our Beatles episodes that's recorded and getting re-released. But I was like, he's like, okay, well, we're kind of on a kick of we called it our British Invasion series. So
okay.
all British bands from the 60s.
Was
And
there
so he's
anyone in
like,
particular that you liked the most?
we're still working our way through. The Beatles kind of kicked it off. And now, so we were going to do Floyd, and I was really looking forward to doing Pink Floyd. But everything I was reading was that they were inspired by the Beatles, but they were also inspired by the Stones. And I was like, well, then we need to do the Stones first. We can't do Floyd and then say, oh yeah, they were inspired by the Rolling Stones, who we'll talk about next time. Like that messes up the timeline. So we decided, okay, we'll go back. We'll do the Rolling Stones and then we'll do Pink Floyd. We've got a whole list.
But staying with your Beach Boys for a second, did you ever hear? Because Brian Williams just died.
Yes, yep, I did hear about that.
They were talking about that. Paul. Guess right. Beatles. Paul. What is it? Last name?
Oh, Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney actually referred to which song was it that they wrote? It was like God, I can't think of the Beach Boys song. Their album came out just before the White Album. The Beach Boys had an album come out, and the White Album was actually the answer to the Beach Boys album because they were because McCartney was like, we need to make a better album than this. This is the greatest that was ever made. And I can't think of the song that was on that. And if anybody wants to Google that for me, there was a particular song that Brian Williams sang. It's been used in probably a million weddings. And I cannot think of the song, Paul. And Paul was like, this was like the greatest song ever recorded, and he really like loved this song. Let's see if I can find the quote. Oh, it's God Only Knows. Paul McCartney has publicly praised God Only Knows, a song written by Brian Williams of the Beach Boys, calling it the greatest song ever written, and stating that is one of the few songs that makes him cry. McCartney and Wilson have also performed God Only Knows together at a charity event. That was it. It was Pet Sounds. This was the one I was looking for, about how Wilson's music, particularly Pet Sounds, deeply moved him, highlighting Wilson's musical genius and ability to evoke strong emotions. But Pet Sounds came out before the White Album, and the Beatles' goal was to make an album better than Pet Sounds.
Huh.
Did you know? It's like, fuck it, I could do that show. Fuck that, man. I'm taking your show over. I'm taking your damn show over. Did you know?
We did an entire episode on surf rock. We did the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, and one other band. I can't remember who it was, but they all three like kind of influenced each other.
Like surf rock's interesting
time period.
Let me ask this question. So you did your research on it. Is surf rock a thing that ever could come back?
Well, so for our intros, we have a different intro for every episode. And I wrote this whole intro, and in the episode we talked about that surf rock was actually the original punk rock. Because it was anti-establishment music. Mm-hmm. Like it was, it's what the cool kids listened to. And yeah, we talked about that. Do I think surf rock could come back? I think a version of surf rock could come back. There's a lot of music that's making its way back.
Oh, this is interesting. Recently. So I had to look this up because I was like, that makes sense that it was like counterculture.
Yeah.
Also, here's another piece of. Don't ask me why I know Beach Boys stuff so well. None of the Beach Boys ever surfed. None of them knew how to surf. They never surfed. But I just typed it in to see if.
Did you know that they didn't know they were the Beach Boys?
What? Oh no! Wait a sec. Tell me this one.
Okay, so one of them was a lifeguard at a pool, and they had recorded a song, handed it over to their Dick Dale and the Deltones. That was the third band.
What? That can't.
That was the name of the band.
Wait a sec. Dick Dale and his Deltones.
Yes, that was.
That sounds like some Weird Al Yankovic shit.
Oh, I know. when Tory brought it up, I was like, "What did you just say? Can we even say that on the radio?"
Is that? Now you got me looking up Dick Dale.
You're gonna have some weird stuff pop up.
Yeah, like all of a sudden my whole thing is gonna be like shutting down on me. Yeah, Dick Dale.
but no. So originally they were called the what was it? It was a
cock swab and the fucking ginger bags. Well, I don't know. Dick Dale and the Deltones.
The Beach Boys were originally called something else, and it was a play on words of these really fancy jackets or sweaters of the time. And that's what they thought their band name was. Well, when their manager got them put on the radio, it was announced as the Beach Boys. So imagine like sitting there and you're like, "Hey, I know that song. That's my song." Who's the Beach Boys though?
That's hilarious.
That's my song. That's me singing. Who's the Beach Boys?
Joe said Dick was the biggest dick in the room for a long time. That's hilarious. Look, folks, if you got questions for Steve, you're curious about music, or you got a music story to tell, please drop it right here in the comments. Colleen, I'm gonna probably butcher your name. Colleen, thank you for that information. Nate says, everyone you see the Beach Boys, you will think of that, Sean. Absolutely. And then I had to play it real quick in my headphones so that I could
The
hear
Pendletons,
it.
because they had the Pendleton jackets.
Oh,
So they called
listen, she's
themselves the
taking over your
Pendletons.
show. You know that, right?
That's my girlfriend. She's in the next room.
Okay, well, at least somebody knows what's going on. Nate normally does all my research for me. Like when I'm asking questions, he jumps on there. He's not my girlfriend, but he normally takes care of that for me. Because I'm sitting there like, I have no idea. But I did have to Google this. Like I put it into Google, could surf rock come back? And it says it's not currently a dominant force in the mainstream music, but it remains relative and active genre with dedicated following and presence in modern music. Several modern bands continue to play and evolve the sound. It says the genre has also seen a resurgence in popularity within indie scene. Little bit of modern bands, Babe Watch, La Luz, The Growlers, and Surf Curse. I want to listen to all of them right now just to figure out who the hell they are because I've never heard of any of them.
I didn't know surf rock was even still a thing.
Yeah, like I had no idea. So you started with the surf rock thing.
Well, we started with rhythm and blues.
Okay.
And then we worked our way forward from there. So with rhythm and blues, we actually discovered that rock and roll was originally gospel music.
Okay, makes sense.
Which is funny, and like we're trying real hard to figure out where they went from Christian to Satan, but you know, we're getting there.
I mean, it could.
Because if you bring up rock music now, people go, "Oh, it's devil music."
Right.
Where did the switch go? You know, where was that switch from basically being gospel music to being Satan music?
Because everybody needs to blame something and not themselves.
Well, and I think that's coming around while we're in the 60s, because you had the Satanic Panic, and you had the hippie era, and you had drugs and free love.
I mean, they all seem to fit right in there.
So yeah.
So, but now then, what's your process of your show? If I'm remembering right, you said you guys are on StreamYard also, right?
Yes.
Is it gonna be a live format where people can sit just like everybody that's watching right now and they can get involved? How are you gonna do it?
No, so we record, and then he goes through, does edits, and then it gets published. We're not going to do anything live right now. If we built a big enough following, absolutely, I'm sure I could convince him to go live. We do want to check into doing video. We're working out the logistics of that one, because we don't have, like, we're using his dad's drum studio to record this. And by drum studio, I mean a bedroom that has sound panels everywhere.
All I can picture is like, no, Dad, leave me alone here. We're doing our podcast right now. We're talking about rock and roll music. God, leave me alone. Like that's the only thing that I pictured in your mind.
But we're coming up with cool backdrop. Where can we put this and stuff like that, so that we can finally do video.
I mean, I think you should definitely do video. I have found even doing this show that once we went to a video format with people being able to interact, and look, folks, if you're those of you that are watching right now, make sure to like, share, follow, all that cliche stuff.
But hey, my co-host just is watching now. Hi, Tory.
Hi, Tory. And Tory, if you want to come on live, let me know. I'll have Steve send you the link, and you can come hang out with us for a minute. But yeah, so if you guys have questions, you have rock and roll questions, or maybe a rock and roll story, let us know what your rock and roll. There it is, Tory Jazz Riley. I like it.
Yes,
Tory, it's such a great rock and roll name. So if you got questions or comments, so is there a genre? I mean, obviously you started with the other ones. There's big genres or big pieces to the music element there, but is there one that you're like, I can't wait to get to fill in the blank, like maybe that end of the 60s into 70s where you go back to, I guess, I don't know what we think more of rock and roll, because you get into that like Zeppelin phase, you get
Oh,
into
we'll definitely get into
Aerosmith.
that.
I mean, that's a very, I think, what we think of rock and
So
roll
we're
more.
working our way through the decades is what
Gotcha.
we're doing. It's just when we got to the 60s, we're like, well, that's when Britain kind of blew up with the rock and roll and came over here and, changed the whole scene. So I was like, why don't we go off on a, still a side quest of how British rock came to be.
Psilocybin quest.
Yeah.
We went on a little psilocybin quest.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, with the when you touched on that, I'm very curious. Do you get into any of how much those guys, especially back to Paul McCartney? Paul was kind of a dick back in the day. If you didn't know that,
I learned that. Yeah.
he referred to the Rolling Stones as the greatest cover band in the world at one point in time.
Oh, wow.
Because most of the Stones' early music was covering old blues tunes.
Interesting fact, a lot of early rock and roll was just cover music also.
Right. Just covering old blues songs.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Favorite
a good one.
dish after listening to rock?
Like, do you have like this is like your go-to, like, I'm going to eat this and jam out to that?
I don't eat and jam out. I smoke and jam out.
Okay. Well, see, then we go into you smoke and jam out. You're going to need a snacks afterwards. Do you have a good, like, please don't tell me Takis. I think that's so played out.
No, I can't do the Takis. No, depends on what I can find in the house.
Dude, I love, like, there's little, what the hell's the name? I can't think of the name of the company, but they sell the individual cheese squares. And they're like it looks almost like a butter dish, but they're individual cut pieces of cheese, like Colby Jack or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Joe says stir that shit. That's my go-to. But that's a great question. So do you have like a go-to snack after, like, I mean, a good, like, we've ripped one, we're Pink Floyd in it. What are we doing?
When I get really elevated, I like to cook. I'm not one to go for a snack food.
You don't have that like prepared beforehand?
No, I love to cook while I'm high.
Oh,
like that is it's
a lot of work.
It's not the food that I look forward to eating. I just love the process of the cooking and like putting in different ingredients and stuff like that. And then at the end being like, okay, I just added a lot of random stuff to this. Let's see how it tastes. I have lots of spices in my cabinet.
Oh,
nothing I make is bland.
Bad Boy Scouts. Why do I know that name? Bad Boy Scouts. Why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? Is that I don't know why I know that name. I feel like it was a band. There's one. I'm going to give you a band.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a band that
it's the experience. Yes. Tory gets it.
I'm going to give you a band, and I'm curious if Joe knows this band. They're out of they were out of Detroit. I can't wait till you do the punk rock stuff. So I love music. I couldn't carry a note in a bag if it meant my life, and the best thing I can play is the radio.
Same.
But there's a band called Murder. Let me see if I can find them. Nate, look it up for me. I believe that's the name of the band. It's Murder Punk Rock Band Detroit. I think that was it. I'm probably going to get Death. I'm sorry, not Murder, Death. Have you ever heard of the band Death?
I have not.
Dude, if you want to understand about changing your entire outlook on punk rock music from that era, that early 80s, when you get into, because I don't know if I ever told you, my buddy's the current drummer for Black Flag.
Okay.
Yeah. See, Tory knows him. Yes. Tory, you know who Death is.
Tory knows a lot more bands than I do.
Tory.
A lot more bands.
Like, if you can get their album, it's the best punk rock album you'll ever hear of real punk rock. Like nobody knows how to play an instrument, punk rock.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by when I say that? Like,
Oh yes,
yeah, I
yes,
get it.
I
You
do.
play, like,
I've seen people like that
absolutely.
in concert.
Yeah, Joe, I was way to look, murder, death. It was right in there. I was close. I was really close. I know. I said
Close only
murder.
counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
That's right. It's good enough for government work. Folks, this is I've been looking forward to talking to Steve for a while here because I knew how this was going to go completely off the rails
Every time.
but it's good. You should see him when him and I get caught up on a TikTok. But yeah, if you're curious,
organized noise. There we go.
Oh, it's 100% well organized noise. There's another genre for you. What is that? That industrial, like just straight pot beating sounds. Have you ever heard that shit?
I've heard it.
It's absolutely horrible. Some of the worst shit I've ever heard in my life. But they swear it's music. Like, where do you? That's a great question. It's like, so where do you? Look at this. I can give you a "Why Did This Happen" show if you want. That would be a good one. A show. What? There's your spinoff show. If you want, what you didn't know is why did this happen? That would actually be a great show. Like, how did we end up here? Or how did we end up there?
Wrong track. He's
never,
calling you out.
Oh,
that's calling you out.
Listen, it happens. It's the truth. I accept the truth as it is what it is. But so like, is there any genres when it comes to like that rock scene where you're like, maybe we don't just we just don't cover this? Like, I could give two shits. We're also on a radio, so silence is never good, just so you know.
I know. As far as like a genre that we can skip, not
K-pop. Like, fuck K-pop.
Well, I didn't plan on covering K-pop anyways. Like, it has nothing to do with rock and roll.
Oh, James, I can't get your YouTube link. I'll have to look at it later. James just sent me a YouTube link.
I don't know. Tory, is there any part of rock and roll, all the subgenres of metal? See, I was thinking like just straight up metal and then mentioning the subgenres of metal, but never actually going into every little nook and cranny of it. Because there is a lot. There's a lot to metal. I will agree with that. Like trying to figure out the difference between doom and sludge.
What? I don't even know what that. There's that's type of metal, doom metal and sludge metal. I didn't know that was a thing.
There's so many types of metal.
I had no idea that was a thing. Yeah, see, metal's a weird one. Like, and one of my sons was mentioning, he was like, "Oh, I'm really into new metal." I'm like, new metal?
Yeah, and it's in you metal.
Right. And then he mentioned Korn. And I'm like, what? That's just metal.
Metal should be metal. Like
I get death metal and
there's
speed metal.
You have these certain camps of metal that are just like
metal's a tough one. Like, you can really break it down like metal
could.
Like, metal is like
that would be a whole
James is going to yell
at itself.
James is going to yell at me here in a minute, but I'm going to say metal has a tendency that it could be the LGBTQ of rock and roll music, because like there's so many subcategories.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, early progressive.
Well, and then there's like certain niches of metal that are just like they gatekeep their form of metal.
What do you mean?
So they're like so if somebody else starts playing something similar to them and they start calling themselves that type of metal, like no, you don't meet the requirements. And I'm like, music should be for everyone. Like, I don't know why 100%. You got to gatekeep.
100% agree with that. Now, here's a question then for you. Would you consider look, see, exactly, James. I see James had the right answer.
Identity is fluid.
Heavy metal identity is fluid. That is the right answer. That is absolutely the right answer. Well, I mean, but it kind of gets into that question though. It's evolutionary. So when it comes to God, it threw me off him saying that it was fluid. That is absolutely the best answer I could have had for that one. But with rock and roll and heavy metal, staying with that for a second, would you consider, what would you put Judas Priest and Van Halen, early Van Halen, like pre 1984 Van Halen? Are they heavy metal?
See,
Sus metal. I would put Judas Priest in sus metal, and if you know what I mean.
like Judas Priest just has a different sound. Like I don't know, like some of these people, it's hard to.
Because here's my thing. Like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden.
Van Halen was pop. Wow, that
No,
is
Roger.
wow.
James, no. James
That
says that
is
Van Halen was pop. I will give you Van Hagar was a little poppier, but early Van Halen, Ice Cream Man, Into the Realms, brother. Okay. But early Van Halen, what I would have considered as a heavy metal band, because they were definitely hard. See,
right.
Tory says would consider Van Halen to be heavy metal, early Van Halen, but I got it. Maybe after the album 1984, they kind of, when you get the song like Jump, you kind of skip over.
That is a very dark song, by the way, if you've never heard the story behind it.
What's the story?
Oh, he was watching the news and there was a guy standing on the edge of a building threatening to jump off the building. And that's what the song is talking about, is telling
No
the guy to
shit.
just jump off the building. Absolutely.
I never
I read
knew
read that or heard it in an interview.
Wow. Joe says Van Halen was never metal. Joe, I'm gonna have to tell you, go back, man. Early Van Halen, especially listening to any riff from Eddie Vedder or Eddie Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, the multi-necked guitars and stuff like that. I gotta say, they were metal, man.
Yeah, I like Tori's comment. I would say that heavy metal is like when hard rock or heavy blues gets even heavier. Early metal was just people jamming harder.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just turning it to 11.
Just getting a harder sound and then coming with the lyrics and then the shock rock and stuff like that.
Now, Tori, I need you to go ahead and take care of something for real quick here. Take care of this for Steve. Can you go ahead and create the Instagram page real quick so that I can tell people to go follow your Instagram page?
Oh, he can't.
Can you do that, Tori? Listen, Tori can do anything. I'm empowering Tori right now. And maybe a little angrier. I'll give you that. Like, it's definitely a heavier, angrier sound. But I'm going to go with this then, because we've gone down this rabbit hole. Then, if you haven't watched the documentary Becoming Led Zeppelin, highly recommend it. You could almost call early versions of what Led Zeppelin was doing had a very metal-ish sound. Especially when you start hearing how the music was put together, you're like, oh shit. I mean, it's got that sound. Are you putting it together now? Because I want to send everyone to your Instagram page that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
And then flood it real quick. Well, while he's putting his Instagram page together, folks, we'll jump on our New Scotland last call for tonight, because we're getting close to closing things up. Discover the spirit of the Highlands right here in New York at New Scotland Spirits. We're more than just whiskey makers, we're storytellers, distillers of heritage, and champions of locally grown grain. Every bottle is handcrafted, bold and unapologetically New York. Whether you're sipping, gifting, or stocking your bar, make it something memorable. Choose New Scotland Spirits. Visit newscotlandspirits.com and taste their tradition. New Scotland Spirits, distilled with pride, enjoyed with purpose. All right. Let's see. Metal is experimentation with the 70s punk and beats. I'll give you that. I will get the Instagram up soon. See, Tori's going to take care of that. Steve said he's already on it. I don't know what happened to your.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. Like, look, folks. I think High Lyfe still has an Instagram page, right? Does High Life have an Instagram
Yeah,
page?
it's the same Instagram page.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Thank you,
my
Joe.
name right now instead of what I want it to be.
Well, you'll figure that one out. So once you get it figured out, we'll share it and everybody can go and find them. So where are we trying to go with this podcast, though, folks? Like, how often is it coming out?
Steve _R91.
All right, so here we'll put this in the chat here real quick. So it's
We're trying to
Steve
release once a month.
_91. So tell me if I got that right, Steve. Steve _91.
Yep.
So you can follow the page, and then Steve will update it to what it should be. Growing up, I grew up with Kiss, and see, now there's a perfect example when you talk about what should have been heavy metal or hard rock that really was pop is Kiss. 1000%, I believe Kiss is pop music. There is nothing. It's rock and roll. I'll give it rock and roll, but to me, Kiss is 100% pop. Ozzy
and Kiss was
Ozzy goes back and forth.
Kiss was also more of just like a show. Kiss was more show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had good music. I've listened to, but like their whole outfit and their personas and all that was a show.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, do you remember the Kiss coffin? Like it was a promotional machine like nothing else. You really think it was shock rock though? Come on now.
James. No, that's not shock rock. Shock rock was
Gwar is shock rock.
Gwar, Alice Cooper. Well,
Alice Cooper, early shock rock.
What he used to be. Marilyn Manson used to be shock rock. Right. Shock rock was stuff that was like, oh my God, I can't believe people are doing this on stage.
Right. Like absolutely. Like, what did I just see another human
do? Kiss just dressed like fucked up Power Rangers.
Yeah, like listen, like they were definitely a jack. So, but Tory says they can understand the chakra. What's up, my man DC the Breaker? Look, folks, I'll go ahead and give them a quick promotion. If you like breaker boxes, opening cool stuff, getting original arts and prints and stuff like that, go check out DCD Collects. They've been on the show a couple times. Check out DC the Breaker. Great group of guys there. What do you read it again? Kiss was shock pop. Okay, I'll give you that, shock pop.
Okay, yeah.
Kiss is Joe says Kiss is a great act. They do have many good tunes that fit that show. I'll give you that 100%. I'm going to tell you right now, the greatest band I've ever seen, and I'm curious of yours also, Steve and Tory. I'd like to hear yours. Really, I'd like to hear everybody's greatest. The best band stage show I've ever seen, by far, no one does a better stage presentation, was AC/DC. Absolutely unbelievable.
I've heard they put on a great show. I have not been to a lot of rock concerts. The last one I went to, I saw Puddle of Mud.
Okay.
And oh fuck,
I've never heard of them.
I can't think of the guy that used to be in Metallica.
James Haff. Oh, James Haff. No. For Megadeth.
That's what I went to go see. I went to go see Megadeth and Puddle of Mud open for them.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, Tory, Primus and the Chocolate Factory. I want to see Primus so badly. I still stand by that Les is the greatest bass player I've ever heard.
I do go see more of a grunge metal band, Smilesy Soul. I've seen them.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Every year for the past 5 years.
I'm with you there. I tell people all the time some interesting shows we've seen. Oh, wow. Joe said he saw Scorpions for Monsters of Rock when he was 16.
Wow.
Definitely one I would be willing to see. I have an eclectic taste for music. I see all kinds of stuff. Concrete Blonde. Did you know, here's one for you, James. Here's a piece of music trivia, that the lead singer of Concrete Blonde, I cannot think of her name, is like a huge pop song writer for people like Pink and the rest of them. That's where she's making her money now, is she writes pop songs for all these artists. But I tell people all the time, we saw Tyler Childers. He's a bluegrass singer.
Yeah.
By far the most emotional concert I've ever seen in my life, where like more people were like so into the singing, where they're like, you could see like every song they felt in their soul. And then the most technical musician we've ever seen was King. Marcus King is probably the most technical musician I've ever seen just absolutely destroy a blues guitar like nothing you've ever seen in your life. Really? He assaulted that thing. First concert was Bach and Jethro Tull. Dude, Jethro Tull, you got to know this piece of trivia. You have to know this piece of trivia, Steve.
Okay.
That has to do with Jethro Tull. Do you know what award they won? They were the first band to ever win this award. Let's see if Tory knows it. Jethro Tull was the first band ever to win this award.
Huh.
Let's see who knows it. Let's see if somebody can drop it in the chat. I can tell you right now.
I've probably heard.
Because it was absolutely mind-blowing when they won this. Jethro Tull beat out bands that you could not believe who they beat out for this award. Joe, you want to drop it? Joe's over on Instagram. Go ahead and drop it, Joe.
Album of the year.
That's it. They won heavy metal album of the year. The first time it was ever a category at the Grammys. Jethro Tull won.
Wow.
How insane is that? You would never in a million years do that. Oh, here, I need to ask. I'm going to just hit you with a question because I'm enjoying this a lot, folks.
Okay.
This is stuff I like. Would you call the band Ghost heavy metal?
Ghost? I would say metal. I'm not sure about heavy metal.
Would you even call them metal?
A form of metal, but I wouldn't say heavy.
They're like a lambskin condom. Yeah, it's a condom, but it's not really doing much for you. Like, I don't know. I don't think I would call them metal other than their look. They have a very metal look.
They do have a very, very metal look. As far as their music,
I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, it's
very poppy.
It is very poppy.
Very soft sounds, very soft singing. But I know people that love them. Anybody out there right now? Yes, in some scenes. Yeah. Yes, in the same scene as a Def Leppard. Absolutely, Tory. I agree with that 100%. They're in that kind of a vein of a Def Leppard. Lambskin condom did not decrease pregnancy. Exactly. And they're not really quite metal. So is there anybody out there in the music scene that you've kind of discovered recently that you're like, hey, either somebody like maybe they were in the back as you've done your research, you're like, I didn't know this was a thing, like Dick Dalton and the Dysfunctionals.
The Deltones.
Whatever, Dick Dalton and the Dysfunctionals. Anybody like that you're like, man, I didn't know this was a thing, or I didn't realize that's who this was that you've discovered that you're really excited about?
Absolutely. Actually, in our episode about oh shoot. I think it was the episode.
Which strain are we on right now?
What?
Which strain are we on? Because you can't remember shit. Which I know I
remember shit anyways. I'm
just trying to figure out which strain you were on right now. But I mean, is there anybody who else? Tory, who did you discover in all this that you're really into?
It's called Lime Sorbet, by the way.
Lime Sorbet. Listen to that. That sounds. How do you pronounce your girlfriend's name? Is it Colleen? Kayleen. Who did he discover? Help me out here, so we know who he discovered.
Okay, so I discovered. It's not a person that I discovered, but it is. Two of the guys from.
Now, Now, Susie and the Banshees. Are we going to play Peekaboo? Great song, Susie and the Banshees. I have like
Uh,
ridiculous music, like listening, horrible understanding.
so there's a Kanye West song,
Okay.
Gold Digger.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that part of his song he sampled from a much earlier song.
Oh yeah. It wasn't Little Richard. It was
No, like before that. It was
yeah, it was I know the blues singer. See, this is what the internet's for.
yeah, wasn't
Yeah,
that
yeah, Tori,
T-Bone?
who have you found through the podcast that you're like, wow, this is amazing? Let's see here. Nathan, you're supposed to find this stuff for me. Gold Digger. Original singer of Gold Digger. That would be the song Kanye West featuring Jamie Foxx. Yeah, I know it was. It was a Ray Charles song. Not Little Richard, but Ray Charles.
Yeah, Ray Charles.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was a Ray Charles song that he was sampling, and we talked about it on the show, like because we played the original, and I was like, you may recognize it from, and then I played the Kanye version.
If you ever get a chance, you should check out on Sirius Satellite Radio, LL Cool J on Rock the Bells. They'll do
Okay.
they'll do a thing about samples, like where did it come from, how far back does that one single sample that you've heard in 3 songs that somebody's either sped it up or slowed it down to change
Yeah.
the beats to it, and then it turns up in another song completely. That's a great thing he does. I really enjoy that one. So, well, Tori, while I'm looking up for next week's guest here real quick, let's see here. You can tell me do you have a zone out music, either your puff puff passing or however you're doing it, because I've got to talk about next week's guest here real quick. Let's give him a chance as I'm choking still here with these allergies. But next week, this is a couple of weeks in a row here, folks, of people that have been on the show before. Obviously, Steve's been on in the past, but next week we got a gentleman by the name of Chris Garcia coming on. Chris was on in the past talking about being a medium, paranormal, leaving your body, dream sequences, stuff like that. But he's working with a woman right now on I don't remember if it was a disappearance case or a murder case, where he's had contact with the person. And we're going to get that information out there, what the police aren't believing about him, and kind of get to talking about these things and how these things are real. Like, and do you believe it? Do you believe that stuff exists? I mean, or is it just a bunch of hoo-hoo mumbo jumbo? What do you think, Steve? Real or hoo-hoo mumbo jumbo?
No, I believe in it wholeheartedly.
You're all in.
Some people.
What do you
I
mean?
don't trust everybody up front.
Chris Angel?
I don't believe anything he does.
Nothing.
That is all camera tricks. One continuous shot by ass.
That's hilarious. Well, look, folks, as I always like to say around here, if you found me through Steve or Steve through me, and you want to find out about what he's got going on, make sure you're giving all this a good like, share, follow, all those different things that
Sleep token, yes.
We can talk about Sleep Token all day. So, like, I feel like completely lost in the Sleep Token thing. I really do. That's a whole nother thing.
What are you lost about?
So my son just fucking popped his head out, whack job that he is. He's as soon as I said it. So like, the second I heard them, and I had to reach out to a good friend of mine, Joanne. The second I heard them, I'm like, oh, so we're doing typo negative. It's typo negative.
What do you
Listen to Sleep Token's pacing. And
uh-huh.
it's very similar to a typo negative pacing.
Huh.
Not that it's a bad thing. Look, I think the last original idea was the wheel, and everybody else has just been stealing shit since then. But it is definitely a very similar pacing to typo negative.
Okay.
an area. There's a lot of lore. That's a new thing also. Like that's a whole nother show. I know we just hit our hour mark and I don't want to run too far over, but Tory, that's a whole conversation in and of itself is these bands with the lore shit. So my son is I enjoy their music, 21 Pilots. I'd love to go see them in concert if they ever came around this area. But I don't understand like all this like extensive storytelling, backstory lore of their music, like you're writing the fucking Lord of the Rings again.
But it's a way of so you
it's connecting with the audience.
It's a way to connect with the audience, and it's a way for you to listen to more of their stuff. So you hear a song 3 albums in, and you're like, well, I don't understand this song. And someone says, well, you have to listen to this song and you have to listen to this. It's a marketing genius.
Oh yeah. Listen, I get it that it's marketing, but I don't get it from the standpoint of like the lore I grew up with. I don't. How old are you, Steve?
I'm 34.
Okay, so I'm 40. I'll be 49 here in a few weeks. So lore to me was like, that's the song about when he shot up heroin and just about died. That's the lore of the song. Oh,
or
Ozzy's.
Ozzy's song, It's a Raid. That was about him. He told the story. He was at a house where they were cutting up coke. And he's like, I was just wandering around this house where they're cutting up and packaging coke. And he pushed a button that was on the wall. Well, that was a panic button.
Yeah, concept pin.
And so it called the cops. Well, the cops were on the payroll. So all he sees is cops coming in. He's like, hide everything. It's a raid. And that story's how he made that song. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. You know, that exactly, James. The backstory of songs bring meaning to the listening experience. 100% agree with it. But I really like when it's a legit backstory.
So, so either the song itself has its own backstory, or maybe an album in itself is a story. You're not into the, this album leads to this album.
It's just a new thing to me. Like when I listen to it's gotten so bad, and I know we're over, folks. If you can't hang out with us longer, I understand. We're going a little bit over, but like for me, when I listen to some of these things and they've created such backstory that my son will sit there and be like, Tyler from 21 Pilots posted 35 pictures on Instagram, each one with one word, that come to find out they were actually the first lines of the song that's going to be released. Or somebody will be like, they analyzed this picture of him in a library and looked at each of the books and realized that there was X amount of books, which then fed into the size underwear he wears, which then we figured out from there that the next album's going to drop. It'll be an extra large.
Well, see, that's just,
and I'm like, holy shit! Where did you figure this out?
Taking advantage of social media to promote. The Gorillas, yes, the Gorillas. That is a whole lore,
right? But even as a lore, there's at least an animated series that goes with that kind of thing.
Yes,
happening. I'm with you, but the wall tells his story as a child and growing up. That's real. Like that's, if I understood the wall correctly, that's what Waters dealt with. Growing up was like the school system in England and all these different things. That was legit for him. Like it wasn't some made up shit.
Right.
And James, just so you know, if you ever get a chance, there's a great interview with the lead singer of the Gorillaz and the Casio thing that for Clint Eastwood, that beat in Clint Eastwood is literally just the embedded sound inside of that. Like it's like the rock sound or something.
Huh. You're not a fan of WWE, are you?
Sure I am.
Okay, then it's similar. So,
bro, I podcast from the Hall of Fame.
If you jump into WWE, you never watched a single episode of it, but you decide to watch Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
There's already a story and everything going on. Are you doesn't mean you have to go back and try to figure out what's going on. You can just, pick up the story from where it's at.
Right. But it's the character story.
Right.
But I guess I don't see that. So I guess music to me is supposed to like touch a nerve.
Bands like Sleep Token and Gwar and though these bands that hide their identity and just identify as this character, that's what they're doing. They're telling their character's story.
All right, I get it once you say Gwar. I get it once you say Gwar because I love Gwar. That's a band that I want to go see in concert.
They're going to be in St. Louis pretty soon.
I would go see Gwar.
They just were.
Would you sit up front at a Gwar show? Are you that brave?
No.
Like just get shit splattered all over you.
If I brought a poncho, yes.
Like I think even with a poncho, you're fucked 6 ways from Sunday. Look, folks, I appreciate all you sticking with us an extra couple of minutes here. And I have two more questions. WD is the touchstone. Your feelings are secondary. That's true. I'm going to ask Steve 2 questions here before we get ready to get out of here. But if you're finding us through Steve or Steve through us, please give us a like, share, follow, all those kind of things. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, going on your Apple Podcasts and following us. It really does make a difference. It's how this message gets out. It's how Steve gets found. It's how we get found. It's how more people know about it. Tory said he'd go at least 3 rows back at least. I don't know if you could be on the back wall. It would help you. I want to get the DVD of Gwar. Oh, dude. James, I feel like James would know who Gwar is.
I only know what Gwar is from Viva La Bam.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude, I'd never heard of them until was watching Viva La Bam. Like I was rewatching like old episodes, and he had them come out to the house, and they showed up. I mean, in full costume, and he wasn't there. He was gone. So his mom answers the door like, "Who the fuck are these people?"
Oh wow, James! If you don't know who Gwar is, you spelled it correctly, Gwar. Just fall down the rabbit hole on YouTube of Gwar videos and just be happy.
I do like their current show.
I don't know anything about it.
I've seen pictures from their current tour.
I know nothing about it, but take a look at them. But like I was saying, like, share, follow, all those things. It really does make a difference. It really does grow both of our audiences. Make sure you join us next week with Chris. See what he's got going on. See if he can connect us with the afterworld and what's happening there. So last 2 questions. I normally only have 1 question, but since we're talking about music, my next upcoming show, I'm so excited for. We just saw Mumford & Son about 2 weeks ago. We're going to see Rod Stewart with Cheap Trick.
Ooh.
Dude, I cannot wait for this show.
Oh, I bet.
Like Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick. What's your next upcoming concert? You got anything?
Smompty Soul is coming to town in August.
Nice.
August 21st.
You want to know who my August show is? I have like 3 shows left for the year. You know my August show.
And I'm going to see Tory's band on the 20th of
what's the name of Tory's band?
July. Sidereal. It's Sidereal Day.
Send me a sticker there, Tory. I'll put it up on the big board. We're going to see System of a Down and Korn at MetLife Stadium in August.
Nice.
And Cyndi Lauper. I would go see Cyndi Lauper. James, I'm not surprised, but I would go see Cyndi Lauper. I think that would be a good show. I think that would be a very enjoyable show. And then we have in September another band that if you have or haven't heard of them, Lake Street Dive. Highly recommend checking out.
I have heard of them.
We're going to see them. So if you need to find Steve, Smile Empty
there
Soul,
is
Cinderreal Day. So go check out Cinderreal Day. Go download everything they have. It's Sidereal.
Yep, you got
Tory, I just need something I can pronounce, dude. Like, fucking look. Why are all musicians like so cerebral? Like, look,
they're all weird. It's okay. I hang out with the whole band.
It reads as Sidereal Day.
Sidereal.
Listen, that's just Sidereal Day. Sidereal, side reel. Don't tell me that shit don't say side reel. Fucking give me a break, bro. Like that shit says side reel day. They'll be changing the name of the band. Next thing we know, can't even like I would listen. Side reel day. It's a side reel, but I'm saying side red flag. Okay, they're gonna be at the Red Flag in St. Louis on July 18th. Marshmallow on July 20th. That's my birthday, July 20th. So make sure you go see those guys out there. So as if you don't remember, don't log off on me afterwards, brother. We got to talk for a couple of minutes afterwards. But as we always say, the guest always gets the final word. And what's the final word for tonight, brother?
Rock on.
Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.